Welcome back. It's the Big 6-0 in the Dev Diary department. Today we're going to be talking about Psionics and the Shroud. Looks like we're going to see some major changes to the Psionics chains in Utopia, especially when it comes towards the tech tree as well as how psionics work. Now, first of all, mind over matter is the psionics chain. I do need to explain what psionics is. Psionics is basically the power of the mind. For those people that have ever played any D&D, like AD&D, and messed around with psionicists, you know how much of a pain in the ass they were. I definitely agreed, because, you know, rolling those characters was an absolute bitch, like, even worse than it was to get a bard, at least in first edition, regardless of my previous encounters with psionics and other ridiculous things. Let's take a look here at what is actually possible with psionics. First of all, in order to use psionics, your empire is going to need to be spiritualists, and this is completely new. And I actually hope that this is going to be a trend when it comes to the specializations of different types of ethics. Like, for instance, psionics, or at least this particular instance of, you know, mind over matter, could be the first step in more fleshing out the ethics change in the actual game, and in this case, Spiritualist is the first step to psionics. Now, one thing that is important, if you do not get the expansion and just get 1.5, all your technology will still be in the tech tree in terms of psionics. So, things like precognitive sentience, things like probably like psi-jump drive, items like that. However, if you do get the Utopia expansion, all of these will be moved into a different path. So the psionic path is called Mind Over Matter, which is an ascension perk that will start your empire on the ascension path for psionics. Picking this path perk will unlock latent psionic abilities amongst your primary species. A certain percentage of leaders will have psychic traits that grants a variety of advantages for different leader classes. We're talking to things about like happiness bonuses, things like survey bonuses, things like technology research bonuses, etc. With all Ascension's paths, you will need to have at least 2 Ascension perks on slots unlocked to pick Mind Over Matter. So right now, I believe there is 8 slots available, which you can unlock by Unity points. It's very similar to what's a tradition system in Civ 4. I did a video on that as well. But yeah, going down the Ascension path, things like psionic armies and Psi-Core buildings, those will all become possible. Like I said, if you're just going to go with 1.5, those will just be part of the tech tree. Leaders, research speed, survey bonuses for psionics. That's fairly straightforward. After picking Mind Over Matter, you will be continue amassing Unity, working your way through the tradition trees. Once you have unlocked your 4th Ascension slot, Transcendence becomes available. Now, what this means is, as soon as you grab this Ascension perk, your entire species becomes fully psionically awakened. Every single character in your empire will be awakened, which is actually really interesting on how this works. One thing that I'm really curious about how this is going to work with the Unbidden, because obviously Psi-Jump Drive is a psionic technology. And if it's locked behind an Ascension perk and the AI has multiple options, dozens of options of Ascension perks, I'm guessing the Unbidden is going to be less of an issue within the grand scheme of the game, and that's something that we'll need to experiment with a little bit. But the psionics chain is really is rather interesting, and I hope it's a sign of things to come. Then let's take a look at the second paid feature, which is the Shroud. Not long after fully awakening, your species will become aware of the Shroud. The Shroud is a realm of which psychic energy, where psychics draw their power from, a strange dimension, very unlike the material universe, or should I call it the material plane? It's basically the warp. It's the warp. Any 4K fans out there, yeah, it's the warp. And it does have its own warp gods and demons and warp entities. etc. The Shroud will pop up in the contacts view, and every single time you wish to enter the Shroud, you will need to expend a considerable amount of energy in the form of credits. Though this cost can be reduced by having access to Zrow Dust strategic resource, and I think you need to have the more Zrow you have, up to 4, I think lowers it. I was watching the stream the other day, and it had some items about that, and you can then explore the Shroud. So what happens when exploring the Shroud? There is quite a lot of them. We saw a couple of them one of them at least on the stream yesterday, where the guys unlock Psionic Shields, which is a new technology. I hope that Psionic Shields are only going to be available to Psionic Empires, so that just because you're sharing the technology doesn't automatically mean that everybody gets it, as long as they manage to research your technology after losing a ship or joining an alliance, or federation in this case. Unlocking psionic technology, asking for spirits there for a boon, or even forming a covenant with a number of particularly powerful spirits. A pact that will give you great benefits, but will come at a terrible costs. And there's a huge picture here saying, do not do this. Form a covenant with the whispers in the void. There's a sense of urgency to their tone. And that will pretty much wrap up the episode regarding Psionics and the Shroud. And any sort of scanners-like related material. Scanners like that movie. A lot of head exploding in that. I actually kind of hope that you can weaponize your psionics to mass explode enemy heads on, other ships. That'd be kind of cool. Psionic warfare, using the mind over matter sort of thing, mind control. I've been watching a bit of Jessica Jones lately, with Kilgrave having basically mind control in it, so that's kind of psionics, I guess. But yeah, still, very cool. And then we're left here with a shroud-marked world. Something very bad is going to happen here. Such a delight. Such a delight. And that will be all for today. Next week, we're going to be talking about factions and how to use your empire, how to use them to change your empire ethics, as well as indoctrination. We're going to see migration to different types of ethics. You will no longer be stuck with them from the start of the game. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and each other.